So I did a 30-day Kindle reading challenge, and halfway through I broke my one and only rule for myself: to read strictly for the entire 30 days. And here's what happened. I actually gave my Kindle a real shot before this. I did a whole other challenge. It was a 7-day reading challenge where I strictly read on my Kindle for 7 days. If you haven't seen that video already, I will link it up here for you guys to go ahead and check it out if you are interested. That one was fun, and I really just challenged myself because I kept staring at the Kindle sitting on my shelf, and when I went to pick it up, it was covered in dust and it hadn't been used in months. So it just felt like, why buy it if it was just going to sit on the shelf and not get utilized? So I really wanted to test myself and see if I could get myself to start using the Kindle, but also to understand why I didn't necessarily gravitate towards my Kindle, because I can distinctly remember before even buying my Kindle how much I wanted to have one because I felt like it was going to be useful and convenient. Yet I bought it, I used it a few times, and then it sat on my shelf. So with doing that challenge and it only being a full week, it did exactly what I thought it would. I read and the convenience was real, but I never felt called to pick it up. 7 days didn't feel like it was going to be enough to really give myself an honest look or opinion on whether or not the Kindle was something that I would actually use in my day-to-day when it comes to reading. And so that's really why I wanted to push myself a little bit further with this challenge. I want to be clear. E-readers are incredible. Affordability, accessibility, being able to read no matter what your situation is. That's beautiful. But for me, I have realized I'm just a physical book person. There is just something about me opening up a new book. The smell of it, being able to grab a highlighter or a pen and actually marking the book up if I decide to do that. I don't annotate very often, but when I feel the need to, I want to be able to do it. And I know that you can annotate inside of the Kindle. You have the underlining feature, but it doesn't feel personable. I don't feel like I can add my actual touch. I know I can add notes. It's not about that. Being able to see my physical handwriting, being able to actually drag the marker across the page or the pen, it just hits different. I also can't deny that I love the experience of going and shopping for books or browsing bookstores or even going to my local library and picking up a book. Some people would call that a book collecting problem. I call it a personality trait, okay? No judgment here. My Kindle is a Kindle Paperwhite, and so it is black and white. There is no color whatsoever. And I think that's honestly one of the bigger pieces of the puzzle that's missing for me when it comes to reading on my Kindle. Of course, that's not the only reason, but I do fear that there is a big difference for me when I'm looking at a book's cover on the Kindle versus looking at the cover itself. This does nothing for me. This, if I didn't even know what this book was about, I probably wouldn't even take a second look. So I don't feel that urge to pick up the book. I don't feel the urge to explore and see what books I can download on the Kindle. Yes, I know. I could simply just go to the Kindle after finding a book that I want to read and download it. But a part of the reading experience for me is that exploration, being able to see the books, pick the books up, read the synopsis. And I feel like I can't do that in a way that feels fulfilling to me on the Kindle. It sounds silly when I say it out loud. It sounds like I'm making excuses for myself and a reason for myself to continue to go out to the bookstores and buy books, but I just genuinely enjoy that experience. I think another big thing for me is not being able to physically turn a page. I think another thing for me is not being able to physically turn the page. For me, that is a big part of my reading experience. Everybody's looks different, right? But for me, there is something so tangible about physically holding that book in my hand and flipping and turning the page. And this just feels impersonable to me. I don't feel like I can get the same feeling or satisfaction because I'm not turning a page. I'm not physically able to see those pages. I am just tapping. I think not being able to see the pages does have some benefits, but the biggest thing is I want to feel like I want to pick up my book and read, and I don't always feel that when I'm reading strictly on the Kindle. Making that word bold, because that is a big part of this whole experiment. But going back to what I was talking about with the color and not being able to turn the page, I feel like that just, like I said, makes the Kindle feel much less personal to me. There is something for me when it comes to reading that does feel very personal, and it feels like my own little reading experience where I get to go on an adventure by myself, live different lives that I would not normally get to live, experience different places from other people's viewpoints. I just think that overall experience kind of takes away from the reading experience for me when I'm reading on my Kindle. But I'm not saying this to say that the Kindle is bad, or that I'm never going to use the Kindle, or that I'm giving up on the Kindle. I did find that the Kindle has some pretty amazing benefits that I think that will work really well for me as a reader. I think this is still an incredible way to read books at night without disturbing anyone. I am married, and when my husband needs to go to bed or is ready to go to bed and I'm not quite ready yet, I can simply just read on my Kindle without having to have lights or any other distractions going on. I think also the ability to have a convenient way to travel with my books is amazing. I have plans of traveling and going to different places, and I don't think that I would be able to bring a plethora of books with me. Let's be real. So this will be a really easy and convenient way to be able to experience reading while traveling. I mean, I can imagine myself sitting on a plane reading using my Kindle, and that actually sounds way better to me than bringing a physical book on a flight. That sounds, not to say horrible, but that doesn't sound as fun. And I do feel like this would feel easier on my eyes on a plane versus a physical book. I don't know why, but I just get the sense that that would be a much easier way to consume my book. But I do have to say, I tested it out a little bit with my 7-day challenge, going back and forth to work and other things like that. But in this reading experience, I didn't do a whole lot of moving around as far as traveling back and forth here and there. Anytime I did, I didn't really bring my Kindle with me because it wasn't like I was going to be going on a long enough journey that I felt like I would need to have my book with me. However, a couple of days ago, I did decide that I wanted to go to Barnes & Noble's for a different video. I wanted to go and peruse and see what books I could find that I may want to pick up and read. Now, my intention when going to the bookstore was only to browse and look at books, but I also wanted the experience of sitting down in the cafe and reading. And so that's exactly what I did. And instead of bringing a physical book, I brought my Kindle with me. And I have to say that that is one thing that didn't necessarily surprise me, but it is one thing that delighted me about my Kindle the most, is the convenience of just being able to bring this guy with me anywhere. Hands down, that is probably my favorite feature of the Kindle. Being able to just honestly put it in my little like crossbody bag, just sliding it right in. It fits perfectly in there, doesn't feel weighted down, and then I can easily just pull it out, read, boom, my page is right there, and then I can kind of just go about my day. That convenience is incredible, and is probably, no, it has to be my favorite feature. Like, I can't say how much I love the ability to just take this with me where I want, and being able to fit it in my bag nonetheless. Like, I think that is a huge thing. I don't have to carry a big bag. I don't feel like the book takes up more space in the bag than anything else. Like, I could fit that in my little crossbody bag, just slide it right in, and it was perfect. Love that so much. I have a confession to make. I did mention that there was one big rule that I had throughout this entire reading experience on the Kindle, which was to strictly read only on the Kindle for 30 days. And if I'm being honest, I failed. I failed at that. I failed miserably at it. Do I want to say miserably? No. Because it was honestly a very, I feel like a reasonable I had a reasonable reason. I have a reasonable explanation as to why I decided to read a physical book. But needless to say, I did not read only on the Kindle. And I think that's also just because I just love reaching for my physical books. As I mentioned, all the reasons as to why that is. Now, if you are wondering what book broke that rule for me, I do have a whole reading vlog, not of me reading the entire book. I'm actually still making my way through this book. It is very hefty, and I just got to a point where I was like, I just need to put it down for a minute. Not because it's bad. I think it was a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. But I'm over the halfway mark with this book. Either way, if you are interested in seeing my beginning experience reading it, then you are more than welcome to check out this reading vlog. But yeah, so this is the reason why I broke my 30-day strictly reading on the Kindle rule, because I already own the physical book of it. Now, long story made short, I'm a mood reader. I'm a mood reader at heart. I love to read different books, just depending on how I'm feeling or what sounds appealing to me. It's like when you are going to hang out with a friend and maybe you guys are going to go out to eat and you say, what sounds good to eat? And you just have this craving for something specific. That's how it feels for me when it comes to my books. And I just had this moment, and it was so random. I think because I just kept seeing it pop up in I just kept seeing it videos pop up so often that I was like, wow, I've seen the movies, but I really want to experience reading the books. And I think it was about 2 years or something, 2 to 3 years ago now, I started reading Stephen King for the first time. And I just feel like this is like a rite of passage. If you're reading his books, I kind of feel like you just have to read it. So I decided I was gonna finally just jump the gun. I did tell myself at first, okay, we'll wait until after the reading challenge is over. But again, being a mood reader, I just felt like I needed to jump and latch on to that feeling that it was time to read this book. So I decided I was going to pick it up. Now, I did go back and forth between actually picking up the physical book or just downloading the book on my Kindle. Here's the thing. I did not want to buy this book again. We already own it. Didn't make sense to spend money on it. However, the waiting period for this book on the Libby app is insane, and I wasn't going to wait that long. So I decided, instead of me purchasing the book again, it just made the most sense to read the physical book. And so that is ultimately why I decided to go with the physical book. But I also just felt like it would be so satisfying to watch myself go from the beginning and get to the end. That is so satisfying. That's another thing. When it comes to physical books for me, I love being able to see exactly where I am. Again, it's more personal to me. I don't know why, but I just feel like looking at that makes me feel satisfied. It makes me feel good, like I've accomplished something. I feel happy when I see where that bookmark is, as I've started to make progress through the book. So I did fail, but I feel like it was a good reason. I mean, if I was going to break my rule for any book, this feels like a great book to break the rule for. So if you guys are interested as well in me just giving you a bit of a update after I finished reading the book, then let me know, and I'll be happy to make a video just talking about my overall experience, what my thoughts are, how I feel, and also even what I rated the book. So if that does sound like something you would be interested in, let me know, and I will be happy to make that for you guys. So here's where I've landed with my Kindle. If I keep reaching for my Kindle because I want to, not because a challenge tells me to, because I think that is something that I've realized made this even more difficult. Telling myself that I can't reach for a physical book, I think there's something about that makes you want it more. If you guys know Chick-fil-A, many people love Chick-fil-A, and there's something odd that happens on Sundays. People tend to crave or want Chick-fil-A, and that's the one and only day that Chick-fil-A is just not even open. So it kind of feels like that for me. When I tell myself I can't reach for a physical book, I'm kind of like, I want it more, if that makes sense. But honestly, being able to implement the Kindle into my everyday reading experience, I think, again, going back to the fact that I'm a mood reader, I think it'd be really cool to have like a book that I'm reading physically and then a book that I can read on an e-reader or on my Kindle specifically. Because again, thinking about if I want to read at night or if I'm having trouble sleeping or if I'm traveling, it would be nice to have access to using my Kindle. And I don't want to encourage myself or anyone else to buy multiple versions of the book. So I don't feel like it would make a lot of sense for me to have a physical book and then buy a digital version of it. Of course, I am happy to do that as an experience if I can get it elsewhere, like maybe on Libby, or if it is available on Kindle Unlimited. But I think it would be cool to be able to implement, again, having access to my Kindle if I want to read at night or on the go when I'm traveling. So I'm definitely still going to implement having my Kindle. And I think what might be a really great idea, now that I said this out loud, is just kind of keeping my Kindle on my nightstand. I think that would be really, really good, because then at least at night I have my book ready and waiting for me, and I can just pick it up when I'm ready to start reading at night, which would be great. Yeah, I like that idea. I don't know why I didn't do that before. Anyways, it doesn't matter. The whole point is I want to make sure that my Kindle has earned a permanent spot in my reading experience, enough to make it make sense for the reasons of spending money on it. I spent money on this, and for something that I don't use as often, it is kind of expensive. And so I want to make sure that I'm getting my money's worth out of this. I also want to do that because I have been just a little too influenced by the Kobo. I feel like if I can really implement ways of being able to use an e-reader in my day-to-day life that makes sense, that works for me, and I'm not doing it just for the sake of doing it because I have it, but because I actually want to reach for it in those instances, then I think that I would then want to reward myself with getting a Kobo. I think I've just, like I said, I've been really influenced by other people's experience with the Kobo. I think seeing the Kobo and how, for one, I like how it looks. I know that there's many different types, but I can't remember. I put it in my Kindle, my first Kindle reading challenge, but there's a specific Kobo that I do want. It has like the stylus, so I could underline, annotate, that kind of stuff with it. And it's color. There's color to it. So I feel like that would also make me feel a little bit more warmth and more invitation to it. I think also the fact that it's not an Amazon product would be really nice. So we will see. We're not there yet. I need to really start using this before I can ultimately say that it would make sense and it would be a smart decision for me to get the Kobo. That influencing feeling that I have is very, very strong, and I know that I want it, but I also want to be smart about those decisions. And how can I sit here and say I'm going to go out and get myself a Kobo if I can't even get myself to read off of my Kindle? So long story made short, did I succeed in my Kindle reading challenge? No, because I did not read only for 30 days on the Kindle. However, I feel like I really did solidify whether or not the Kindle is something that I could see myself using. But not only that, I've definitely solidified the fact that I'm a physical book person. I don't think that that is really ever going to change. I find that there's such a lack of physical media in my life that this is the one form of like something physical that I can actually use. And so I want to continue to use that. It's funny because I have said this a few times, but like when I think about it, a physical book is now like the analog way of reading, which is so weird to think, but I think it's also an amazing thing that there are so many different ways to now experience reading for a multitude of different reasons. I mean, affordability, of course, like I mentioned, accessibility, and not only that, but like getting people to actually find ways that works for them where they can actually enjoy a story, because reading isn't about physically sitting there and reading a book. It's about the comprehension of a story and, you know, having that experience of knowing what this story is about. And I think that it's pretty neat that we have so many different ways to experience reading, and that I am able to sit here and say, oh yeah, I prefer reading a physical book versus reading an ebook. Like, that's kind of cool to think that reading has come so far that there are literally devices made strictly for people to be able to read and consume and enjoy books. I love reading. I love reading, guys. I love it so much. There's something so beautiful about reading. Anywho, that is pretty much all I have to say about the topic right now. I do really love talking about books and reading and my experience. And something that has been on my mind more recently has been some of the things that I've noticed in the book world that have me questioning the intentions of some of these different trends or just things that have been happening. So if you guys would like to see me talk about that, let me know in the comments down below. But this is where I'm going to leave you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate you guys so much. And I will catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.